Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News with the first week of VCT matches now in the books. A quite surprising result indeed to close out the week with lots of reaction to it, understandably so. But also Zekken giving his thoughts before then deleting the tweet on the tier 3 scene, what that means for ranked, and what that means for the general state of Valorant and the competitive circuit going into the future. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. First of all though, we have to dive into this series. Detonation focused me. This, by the way, an interview after the fact said that before the series they played, DFM apparently had a big argument, a big fight in the team the night before. He elaborated, Neth, that they had a fight so big yesterday, they cancelled the scrim so they could talk out their issues and communicate each other's thoughts. So, maybe we need some other teams at the top of, teams that are struggling elsewhere to have one of these big arguments, big fights. But, it shows the passion on the team. This sounds like a bad thing, right? Because if you're chalking up a scrim because the team's fighting and arguing on things, probably not ideal, but also shows there is commitment to improve. Probably they're doing reasonably well, but they want to get to the next level type thing. And clearly in this case, it actually worked out for them because Detonation Focus Me Gaming, baby, can you believe it? They finally done it. I never thought that I'd see the day that Detonation would actually win a series. And against a decent team as well in T1, but they've done exactly that. This went to a game 3. The Ascent, they won 13-10. I think I'll share a clip in a second here from FNS watching this one and saying, actually, their offense was pretty well executed for a map like Ascent, and then they executed well on their defensive side. To close out the game, they then lost the Lotus on T1's pick 13-5. Of course, this is, Rossi and Excret and those guys on this roster, and we'll discuss Excret here in a second. He was on the Chamber here. And then the final map, though, on the Sunset, 13-11. Can you believe it? DFM have done it. I mean, I'll share their record now because it's ugly viewing until the most recent one. These are their games in the VCT so far, right? So, of course, they were Crazy Raccoon. They've now brought back some of those guys. But ever since the VCT started last year, they did not win a series. They, lost everything they played in the regular season. And this is kind of being combined here with the Crazy Raccoon stuff. And if you just kind of ignore some of their wins, because they've kind of merged now, we can see that DFM last year did not have the best time at all. So, not pretty, obviously. But they finally done it, baby. They've finally got a victory. And understandably, right, for Rossi is like, damn, that was embarrassing, right? Because losing to DFM, it's obviously not great. But as he says, you know what? They actually played pretty damn well. I will say on the T1 side, and there was just lots of nice reaction here from the guys on, of course, DFM now getting a victory finally. And it's just good to see for the scene in general because nice to see those guys perform. But also what it means for the groups, actually. I guess we can have a look at that real quick as well, just because of the way that's now laid out now. If we have a look at this one, I suppose, and have a look at the group that they are actually in, they've won again. I mean, this group again, apart from Talon being 1-1 and losing to Gen.G, it's another set of matchups which arguably show that one of the groups is substantially stronger than the other group. And we talked about this in the Americas the other day, and that kind of seems to be the case here. But at least for T1, despite having lost this series and lost 2 close series now in very close fashion, they are at least, there are other teams that are bad in their group as well. So T1 probably don't feel too bad about this. But we'll see where Detonation Gaming can actually go from here because it's cool to see them making progress, of course. This, though, from Excred, I thought was somewhat concerning. He talked about an injury on his right hand, which is causing right hand muscle strain. So yeah, he has a bit of a hand issue, and this is, unfortunately, I think, an inevitability for, some players over time when they maybe don't take care of their hands and their wrists and these type of things as much as they potentially should do. I think there is concern here, right? Because Excret is saying, well, I've got this hand issue, it's causing tension and, it's not kind of comfortable to play with, but I'm kind of just going to play anyway and play through the issues and maybe not play my best, but play okay. That is only likely to make things worse. And the idea that he can say, well, you know what, all right, I'll recover well for the next game. Yeah, difficult to imagine that's so easy because if it's something tendon related or whatever it is, probably requires some further time off and some treatment and some, relaxation maybe. So yeah, wishing the best for him. I thought that was somewhat concerning there really for T1, but of course further reaction as well from FNS. I wake up at DFM 1. Can you believe it? They actually got the job done because of course it was late night when FNS was covering it initially, and as Boaster says, thought the new DFM looked all right. How they got a victory finally, of course. So just a cool story for really all of esports. esports. And, you know, even as was said here, world's worst tier 1 Valorant team finally gets a win because they were the world's worst last year. That is, you know, an unequivocal fact, effectively. But this year, that does not seem to be the way that they are starting out or the way that they intend to continue. So, yeah, just to quickly look at how things are going here in the Pacific side. These are the groups so far. They play again in a couple of days' time. We also have this from EMEA, just to mention, because their matches start up again today. That's how the week of Valorant at this point works. So KC versus FNS Esports, Vitality, Heretics, they play today, and Fnatic play the next game in a couple of days against Giant X, and then they play M8 next weekend, Gentle Mates. So, you know, Fnatic should be able to bounce back this week. TL versus Na'Vi is going to be quite telling, I think, just because TL haven't massively impressed me so far, and Na'Vi looked really good in the first series they played last time. But let me share this clip real quick from FNS.
See, they're not dying like in dumb ways. See, they heard that. They have to know it's the Jet. Look at that. Cypher just walks away, doesn't take the fight.
We get T1 immediately trying to react for more space.
Oh, that's it. Okay, I was gonna say.
They're good. I don't care what you guys say. Okay, that's bad, but they're good. They're actually good. It's fine. Good trades. Okay, I'm saying it right now. DFM wins this round. If my jinx is real, they'll lose the round, right?
Set up for it.
Flash drive out. Showstopper finds him. X-Current gonna be taken down.
So easy, dude.
30 seconds left.
Wait.
Nearby spots one, but Medusa.
Y'all are dumb. Accept that you're dumb. 5 attack rounds, and they genuinely played well. This is a good team. I'm telling you right now, that was one of the better halves I've seen on attack side of SEN. I think the only team that plays it maybe better than that on attack side is NRG. Hashtag Blaze.
Couple of scrims I wanted to go through here as well. I thought it was pretty funny, the content that Sentinels put together here with, for some reason, we've got Zekken with a drill in hand. Not especially doing much with it, I can't well imagine. But there have been some Scrimbux that were going down from Somstream, but also what Zekken himself had to say on the state of Valorant in general right now. I think that Valorant in the tier 1 level is in a particularly good spot. We have teams like DFM finally coming good. We have all around the world big storylines developing. Shanghai, of course, is the next Masters event. Hopefully by that time the Chinese region can be somewhat more competitive than they presently seem. But of course in the Americas, Sentinel's doing very well. There's other great teams in the Americas as well. Whenever you have the biggest like name team and organization that is like the best team, the viewership for the space is always going to go crazy, right? So that's how things are looking at the moment, and their practice has been looking pretty good as well, it seems. So this is pretty small, but on the right hand side I'll just read it out here because we have, well actually I can just about zoom in here. So it seems that we have NRG, they are down 5-2 to M80, so here we go, 5-2 to those guys at this point. Not really much to say in that one. We also then had this, so just to kind of confirm that yeah, it's continuing as planned. Not like it ever wasn't going to, but Curry is here playing a deathmatch when the rest of the guys, Kaplan and Zeltis, are here in scrims. So, you know, it seems like things are continuing as plans. 9-3, whoever they're playing in this one, Sentinels, with John QT, of course, back in the roster. And then let me just zoom in on this one as well from Somstream on the right-hand side. We can see 100T, they're up 7-4 in a scrim that they are playing. But as we scroll further down, this I thought was probably the most telling one, potentially, was G2 versus Cloud9. Cloud9 with a good result, of course, in their first week, absolutely. They took down Lev, but it was G2 who absolutely crushed Evil Geniuses in their series and looked like, you know, the dominant force that the Guard have been in challenges. And maybe they're finally starting to come good, especially now they have Icy in the team. So it's just scrims, but it's worth looking at, really, that we had the Cloud9 guys down 9-1 in this to G2 in this particular moment. And then we had, you know, EG playing in a custom game 5-5, and that's pretty much where it ended for the day. But I wanted to discuss this tweet here from Zekken, because tweeted this, then deleted it. There were lots of reaction to this as well, especially in this thread, people saying, you know what, Zekken makes a very fair point here. Not sure why he deleted it, whether he thought that he was going to get fined or whether he thought that curb stomped was rather not the term to use. I don't know. But Zekken said the following: Riot curb stomped tier 3 and now ranked as terrible because nobody has a reason to get good anymore. And, you know, I guess those two things can be combined together. Now, let's be honest here, right? Basically, any esport you'll find, the tier 2, tier 3 ecosystem is not necessarily the best supported. It's always a difficult challenge to balance between what the organization in charge, Riot Games, the publishers, the decision makers behind the entire VCT how they decide to approach this. Do they just allow third-party tournament organizers to run what they want to do? Do they put on their own stuff? Do they try and prioritize that? Because, you know, my feeling is in some regard that they see almost the collegiate side as being that development pipeline, development process into tier 2, tier 1. But definitely there is an argument to say there are not enough tournaments down there in tier 3, which means that, you know, the process for players to get better and improve is maybe the pipeline is not necessarily great. Now there is, you know, Premiere and all this other stuff that's going on in the Valorant clients, and the collegiate side is growing some legs. So I think that in terms of development pipeline for talent, it's not the end of the world, and the best players will still rise up to the top and make their moves. But yeah, the ecosystem from top to bottom is not in the best spot, and I don't think it's in maybe as good a spot as it has been, in the sense that pre-partnership, things were arguably easier for players to make progress than they are today. And I guess the point that he's trying to make is that, well, if tier 3 doesn't really exist and it's difficult to get scouted and signed and picked up and make progress, then, you know, nobody's really going to try and ranked because the opportunities presented don't really appear to be there. So he thinks those two issues may be connected, and there might well be something to that. But, you know, hopefully we'll see as time progresses whether things get slightly more stable from top to bottom. But this is how the results looked after the first week of matches across the various regions. These were all the results as Will might have put together. I guess the thing to really look for, though, is actually this one, which is global VCT standings so far. So SEN are 1-0, but they only had a 10 round differential, which is not bad, but you know, they find themselves 2-0 map record, as do all these other teams. So this is, of course, like the global rankings. It doesn't really mean all that much, but the most dominant teams so far, technically, have been DRX. They have played 2 series. They are 4-0 map wins to map losses and have the best round differential just about of any team as a result of that. But G2 right up there, NRG, and yeah, of course, this is very much early days for the regular season, but very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.